Hello, friends. Are you ready to dive deep into the world of Sonic the Hedgehog 3? Released on December 20th, 2024, this film has sparked endless conversations, and today, we're bringing you every thrilling detail. From jaw-dropping twists to unforgettable performances, we'll break it all down. If you love what you see, give this video a like. It really helps us grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more exciting movie explorations and hidden gems. Let's jump in and unravel the magic together. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a 2024 action-adventure comedy film based on the popular video game series by Sega. Directed by Jeff Fowler, the screenplay was written by Pat Casey, Josh Miller, and John Whittington, based on a story by Casey and Miller. The film features returning stars Jim Carrey, Ben Schwartz, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, Natasha Rothwell, Shima Moore, James Marston, Tika Sumpter, and Idris Elba, with Kristen Ritter and Keanu Reeves joining the cast. In the film, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles team up with Dr. Robotnik to take down a new foe, Shadow the Hedgehog. The movie was first announced in February 2022 during Viacom CBS's investor event, prior to the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, 2022. Due to the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike, production for the animated characters began in July 2023 in Surrey, England, while live-action filming with the cast commenced in November 2023 in London. The film's production wrapped by March 2024. It draws inspiration from the video games Sonic Adventure 2, 2001, and Shadow the Hedgehog, 2005, loosely adapting the storyline of the former. Reeves was cast as Shadow due to the similarities between his portrayal of John Wick and Fowler's vision for the character. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 had its world premiere at the Empire Leicester Square in London on December 10, 2024, and was released in the United States on December 20th. The film was met with positive reviews, with particular praise for the performances of Carrey and Reeves. A fourth installment is currently in development. Plot: In 1974, Shadow the Hedgehog arrived on Earth in a meteorite and was taken in by the Guardian Units of Nations, GUN. His powers were used in various experiments led by Gerald Robotnik at a GUN facility. During this time, Shadow developed a close friendship with Maria, Gerald's granddaughter. One night, as Gerald, Maria, and Shadow tried to escape the facility to prevent Shadow from being captured, GUN inadvertently caused an explosion that killed Maria, leading both Shadow and Gerald to harbor a deep resentment toward humanity. Gerald was imprisoned, but eventually released, and Shadow was placed into suspended animation. In 2024, off the coast of Japan, a secret GUN prison facility systems are hacked, awakening Shadow. Elsewhere, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are celebrating the anniversary of Sonic's arrival on Earth with their adoptive parents, Tom and Maddie Wachowski. GUN director Rockwell arrives and recruits Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, whom GUN has dubbed Team Sonic, to stop Shadow, who is wreaking havoc in Tokyo. Shadow overpowers the three and escapes. Team Sonic meets with GUN Commander Walters, who explains Shadow's past. Suddenly, Dr. Ivo Robotnik's drones attack and fatally wound Walters. Before he dies, Walters gives Sonic a digital keycard and warns him to keep it safe. Team Sonic, unsure of who to trust, vows to find Shadow without GUN's help. They encounter Evo's assistant, Agent Stone, who reveals that Evo did not send the drones. They form an uneasy alliance with Evo and track the drones to an abandoned GUN base. At Gerald's old facility, Shadow captures Team Sonic, while Evo meets Gerald, his long-lost grandfather, who activated the drones to lure Evo. Gerald explains that two keycards are needed to activate a weapon he designed for GUN. The Eclipse Cannon, an orbital laser capable of targeting any location on Earth, which Gerald plans to use to destroy GUN's headquarters. Evo joins Gerald, betraying Sonic. Shadow takes the keycard from Tails and activates a black hole to destroy the base. Team Sonic escapes using a ring portal and recruits Tom and Maddie to steal the second keycard from GUN's headquarters in London. During the mission, Shadow gravely wounds Tom, obtains the second keycard, and he, Evo, and Gerald launch the Eclipse Cannon. Furious that Shadow nearly killed Tom, Sonic abandons Tails and Knuckles, steals the Master Emerald, and transforms into Super Sonic using the 7 Chaos Emeralds contained within. Sonic rushes to the Eclipse Cannon and confronts Shadow, who absorbs the Chaos Emerald's energy to become Super Shadow. The two engage in a globe-spanning battle. Eventually, Sonic overpowers Shadow but relents upon realizing that Shadow has been consumed by revenge. Sonic speaks to Shadow about the loss of his guardian, Longclaw, telling him that their love for the people they've lost is more important than revenge. A touched Shadow apologizes and agrees to help stop the Eclipse Cannon. Gerald reveals his intent to use the Eclipse Cannon to destroy Earth as revenge for Maria's death. Evo, preferring to conquer Earth rather than destroy it, fights Gerald. Tails and Knuckles arrive, and together, they knock Gerald into an energy field, disintegrating him. Sonic, Shadow, Tails, Knuckles, and Evo redirect the cannon away from Earth. When the Eclipse Cannon's core begins to melt down, Evo and Shadow sacrifice themselves to move the cannon out of Earth's range before it explodes. Sonic reconciles with Tails and Knuckles, and Tom recovers from his injuries. In a mid-credits scene, during a race with Tails and Knuckles, Sonic is attacked by an army of robotic replicas of himself, but is saved by a hammer-wielding female hedgehog. In a post-credits scene, Shadow is revealed to have survived the Eclipse Cannon's destruction. The excitement around Sonic the Hedgehog 3 reached a fever pitch long before it even hit theaters, with fans of the beloved Blue Blur and his chaotic companions eagerly anticipating the continuation of their wild adventures. Premiering on December 20, 2024, this third installment in the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog series brought together all the familiar faces from the past films, with some fresh twists and an intriguing new addition, Keanu Reeves as the voice of the iconic anti-hero, Shadow the Hedgehog. As the latest chapter in a saga that has bridged the gap between gaming nostalgia and blockbuster filmmaking, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 had more than just its release date working in its favor. It was the culmination of years of fan expectations, artistic ambition, and the drive to deliver a film that captured the heart of the franchise while pushing its limits in new, exciting ways. What made Sonic the Hedgehog 3 so unique from its predecessors was not just its scale, but the bold risks it took with its narrative and character arcs. The movie wasn't content with simply repeating the same formula of humor and high-speed action that had worked in the first two films. Instead, it delved deeper into the lore of the Sonic universe, inviting viewers to explore the complexities of characters like Shadow, whose dark past and emotional weight added a layer of depth not often found in family-friendly films. The story itself picked up where the second movie left off, with Sonic and his friends dealing with the aftermath of their last victory, only to find themselves facing an even greater threat. Dr. Robotnik, whose return to the scene brings with it an even darker and more dangerous challenge, one that could forever change the fate of both Earth and Mobius. At the heart of the plot was Shadow, a character who had long been a fan favorite in the Sonic video game series. Known for his brooding demeanor, complex history, and conflicted motivations, Shadow's arrival in the Sonic movie universe marked a significant turning point. In this film, he's not just a secondary antagonist. He's a fully fleshed-out character with his own narrative arc, propelled by his quest for revenge and his own search for identity. Keanu Reeves' casting as Shadow was one of the movie's most talked-about moments, and he fully delivered on the promise of bringing this beloved character to life in a way that felt both authentic and compelling. His voice performance was hauntingly perfect, and it captured the character's emotional turmoil and inner conflict, adding layers of gravitas to a role that could have easily been overshadowed by the high-flying action surrounding it. But while Shadow's story took center stage, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was far from a solo performance. Jim Carrey, reprising his role as the manic and unpredictable Dr. Robotnik, gave what was perhaps his most memorable performance yet. In a move that only Carrey could pull off, he not only returned to his over-the-top villainous antics but also juggled dual roles, playing both Robotnik and his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik. This was a risky but brilliant decision, as it allowed Carrey to showcase his comedic genius while also tapping into a deeper emotional well, bringing new layers to the character of Robotnik that fans had never seen before. His wild energy was balanced perfectly by the film's more somber moments, giving the audience a mixture of intense action, heart-wrenching drama, and laugh-out-loud humor. This balance between high stakes and lightheartedness was one of the film's strongest elements, and Carrey's performance played a major role in ensuring it all worked. The visuals in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 were another reason this film had everyone talking. From the opening sequence, which saw Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles racing through a hyper-stylized rendition of a futuristic city, to the breathtaking set pieces that took the action from Tokyo to the moon and beyond, the film's visual effects were nothing short of spectacular. The animators and VFX teams worked tirelessly to bring the world of Sonic to life, and it showed. The Chow Gardens, a nod to Sonic Adventure 2, were rendered with such care and attention to detail that they felt like a natural part of the world, offering a sense of nostalgia for fans of the games while still serving the plot in a meaningful way. And Shadow's Dark Rider motorcycle, a direct reference to the Shadow the Hedgehog video game, was incorporated seamlessly into the action, providing some of the film's most thrilling sequences. The movie's pacing was relentless, and it never allowed the audience to settle too comfortably into one moment before hurling them into another wild chase or explosive confrontation. Yet, amid all the chaos and spectacle, there was a tenderness to the film that elevated it beyond typical family fare. The film explored themes of identity, redemption, and the search for belonging, which resonated not only with the younger audience but with adults who had grown up with Sonic and now saw themselves reflected in the character's struggles. Shadow's quest to understand his true nature was at the heart of this exploration, and it allowed the film to ask some surprisingly deep questions about what it means to be a hero or a villain, and what kind of legacy one wants to leave behind. Sonic, too, grappled with his role as a protector and what it meant to be the leader of his team. The dynamic between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles was stronger than ever, and it from mere friendship to something more akin to family. One of the standout elements of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was its handling of the supporting characters, especially Maria, whose tragic backstory was brought to the forefront in a way that added emotional weight to the narrative. Kristen Ritter's performance as Maria was subtle yet impactful, and it gave the film a layer of emotional depth that made the stakes feel even higher. The character's interactions with Shadow, particularly when she tried to reach the part of him that still longed for connection, were some of the film's most touching moments, and they gave a sense of gravitas to the otherwise fast-paced action. Beyond the story and performances, the soundtrack for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 played a pivotal role in enhancing the movie's atmosphere. The return of Tom Hokenborg, who had composed the scores for the previous films, brought a sense of continuity to the series, while Johnny Gioeli's inclusion of Live and Learn, the iconic theme from Sonic Adventure 2, was a triumphant nod to fans who had grown up with the games. The inclusion of new tracks, like Jelly Roll's Run It, helped modernize the film's sound, giving it a fresh, energetic feel that matched the high-speed action on screen. One OK Rock's Neon added an additional layer of excitement, especially during the film's more intense moments, creating a seamless blend of visual and auditory immersion that made every chase, every confrontation, and every victory feel even more exhilarating. As the release date approached, fans couldn't help but speculate about what would happen next. Would the Sonic universe continue to expand? What new characters would be introduced? Would Shadow's character arc be fully resolved, or was there more to his story yet to unfold? The anticipation reached a fever pitch with every new teaser, every leaked image, and every new snippet of information that was released in the lead-up to the premiere. By the time the film hit theaters, the excitement was palpable, and it was clear that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 had not only lived up to expectations but had exceeded them in ways that no one could have predicted. This film captured the essence of what Sonic had always been: fast-paced, thrilling, and filled with heart. It didn't just rely on the existing fanbase. It expanded the world in ways that drew in new viewers, making them care just as much about these characters as those who had grown up with the games. For longtime fans, the film was a gift, filled with references, nods, and moments that felt like a love letter to everything that had come before. But for newcomers, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was a fresh and exciting adventure, one that could be enjoyed without the need for prior knowledge of the games or the previous films. As the credits rolled, it was clear that this wasn't the end of the Sonic saga. There was more to come, and with the groundwork laid in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the possibilities were endless. The film had succeeded in blending nostalgia with innovation, action with heart, and humor with depth, leaving viewers eagerly awaiting what would come next in the ever-expanding world of Sonic the Hedgehog. The first moments of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 catapult the audience straight into the heart of the action, setting the tone for what would prove to be a high-stakes adventure full of twists and character revelations. The movie picks up not long after the events of the previous installment, where Sonic, voiced by Ben Schwartz, and his team, Tails, voiced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, and Knuckles, voiced by Idris Elba, celebrate their hard-won victory over Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman as they like to call him. The world may have been saved, but peace has proven to be a fleeting luxury. The calm is shattered almost immediately as the familiar whine of robotic machinery fills the air, signaling that the battle isn't over. Robotnik, despite his defeat, isn't one to stay down for long. The film opens in the bustling city of Tokyo, where the citizens have no idea that a storm is about to break in their midst. The camera zips through the neon-lit streets at a pace that mirrors Sonic's own Quicksilver movements. Sonic himself, ever the cocky hero, is zooming through the city on a daredevil joyride with Tails in tow. Their camaraderie is palpable, the two sharing playful banter as they race through the skyscrapers. But it's a momentary escape from the darker things brewing just beneath the surface. The pair's light-hearted interaction is interrupted when they receive an emergency call from Knuckles, who's on a mission to recover some ancient artifacts that might hold the key to something far greater than they realized. They quickly regroup, but even as they continue their playful antics, there's an unspoken tension among them. Sonic is maturing, his impetuousness is tempered by a new sense of responsibility, and it's clear that something deep inside him is beginning to stir, something tied to his true purpose. In the shadows, a more sinister force begins to coalesce. Far from the buzzing streets of Tokyo, deep in the bowels of a forgotten laboratory on a desolate island, Dr. Robotnik is plotting his return. His obsession with defeating Sonic has not only deepened, it has turned personal. With the loss of his army and the destruction of his machines, Robotnik has been licking his wounds in isolation, but his mind has been burning with new ideas, new technologies, and most importantly, new sources of power. His enigmatic assistant, Agent Stone, voiced by Lee Majdaub, remains loyally by his side, albeit with growing doubts about the path Robotnik has chosen. Stone serves as a strange anchor to Robotnik's madness, and it's clear their dynamic is becoming more strained. The mad genius of Robotnik is undeniable, but his emotional volatility is beginning to take a toll on their once unquestionable partnership. The twist, however, comes when Robotnik unveils his most dangerous creation yet, an android whose power could rival even Sonic's speed. This is the moment where the film truly begins to delve into its greatest narrative shift. The android is no ordinary machine. It is a being infused with something far more potent, something darker. This is where Sonic the Hedgehog 3 sets up its true antagonist, Shadow the Hedgehog. First introduced as nothing more than a mere weapon, Shadow's presence looms over the plot, even before he's fully revealed. The film plays with anticipation, allowing Shadow's arrival to feel almost mythic. Robotnik and Stone activate Shadow, and what follows is a chilling moment. The silence of the laboratory, broken only by the low hum of electricity and the clicking of gears as the android awakens. The audience is left with a sense of dread and intrigue, as the very nature of this new threat remains shrouded in mystery. As Sonic and his team get wind of Robotnik's resurgence, they embark on their own investigation, leading them to uncover troubling signs of a much more formidable force on the horizon. It's during a covert mission in a remote desert base that the team gets its first real glimpse of Shadow in action. Sonic, who has always been the fastest, the most reckless, is thrown into unfamiliar territory when he's confronted by Shadow, who, unlike Sonic, moves with a deadly precision that suggests experience, purpose, and something far more calculated than Sonic's free-spirited rush. The fight between Sonic and Shadow is as quick as it is intense, their speed a blur that leaves Sonic reeling as he struggles to keep up with the shadowy figure. Shadow's abilities seem supernatural in nature, his moves not just fast but unnervingly precise, and his piercing red eyes hold a secret that sends a chill down Sonic's spine. It's clear this isn't just another of Robotnik's creations. This is someone who could be just as powerful as Sonic, if not more. In the aftermath of the skirmish, Sonic is left shaken but determined, his cocky bravado momentarily put in check. Knuckles, ever the warrior, is eager to dive back into the fray, but Tails senses that something deeper is at play. It's during this moment of reflection that Sonic begins to question his own identity. What does it mean to be the hero if there's someone out there who might be even better at it? This is the first inkling of a larger internal struggle for Sonic. For so long, he has been the fastest, the bravest, and the one everyone looks to for guidance. But Shadow represents something more, a dark mirror of his own strength, a reflection of what Sonic could become if he embraced a different, more dangerous path. As Sonic contemplates his place in this new world order, the film subtly layers in the emotional conflict that will define the rest of the story. It's not just about fighting evil anymore. It's about confronting the very nature of heroism and what it takes to protect the people you love. The tone shifts from playful banter to something more somber, as Sonic realizes that this fight will test him in ways he never anticipated. The deeper motivations behind Shadow's actions are slowly revealed. He's not just a weapon created by Robotnik, but a being with his own agenda, his own memories, and his own tortured past. His connection to Maria, a key figure in his creation, remains a mystery, one that will be uncovered in due time, but the emotional stakes of the film start to take shape here. Meanwhile, the back and forth between Robotnik and Shadow grows even more complicated. Though Robotnik believes he is the master of his creations, there is an air of tension between him and Shadow. Shadow's reluctance to follow orders, his refusal to be controlled, begins to chip away at Robotnik's ironclad confidence. There's something undeniably human in Shadow, a sense of pain, loss, and confusion that sets him apart from the usual mindless machines Robotnik has constructed in the past. This slow, simmering tension between creator and creation serves as a fascinating subplot, one that becomes increasingly important as the film progresses. As the team of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles learns more about Shadow and the threat he represents, their bond deepens. Knuckles, ever the loyal protector, throws himself into the mission without hesitation, and Tails, whose intelligence and mechanical genius continue to shine, becomes the brains of the operation. Their teamwork is tested at every turn, especially as they uncover deeper layers of Robotnik's plan. It becomes clear that he's not just after revenge against Sonic, he has far grander schemes in mind, including using the artifacts Knuckles had been trying to recover to unlock an ancient power that could reshape the very fabric of reality itself. As the movie progresses, the tension mounts, and the stakes rise. Sonic and his team, once carefree and brimming with confidence, now find themselves up against a threat unlike any they've faced before. They're not just fighting for their lives anymore. They're fighting to protect everything they hold dear. And as Shadow's past begins to unravel, the film introduces themes of identity, loyalty, and redemption, turning what could have been a typical action-packed sequel into a layered exploration of what it means to be a hero and what it means to be human. The first half of Sonic the Hedgehog the Third may be packed with action, but it also lays the groundwork for the emotional and narrative shifts that will come in the second half. The introduction of Shadow, Robotnik's deepening madness, and Sonic's own internal struggle create a narrative web that pulls viewers in with a mixture of excitement, suspense, and emotional resonance. Every twist and turn feels earned, and every character's journey, whether physical or emotional, adds another layer of depth to a story that, at its core, is about more than just saving the world. It's about confronting what lies within and the choices that define us all. The stage is set, and as the first half concludes, it's clear that the journey ahead will be as tumultuous as it is thrilling. The second half of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 picks up with a palpable shift in momentum, as the stakes grow higher, and the film's energy becomes more intense, emotionally charged, and filled with weightier consequences. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, having gathered information on Robotnik's latest scheme, now know that the fight they're about to face is not just for survival, it's for the very future of their world. They stand at a crossroads, where their friendships will be tested and their limits pushed to the brink. What was once a simple adventure has now evolved into a desperate mission to stop an apocalyptic threat, and at the heart of it all is the mysterious and powerful Shadow the Hedgehog, whose motives and connection to Sonic continue to unfold. The team's first real confrontation with Shadow occurs on a grand scale. After tracking Robotnik to an abandoned, underground facility, Sonic and the gang finally come face-to-face with their enigmatic adversary in a sequence of breathtaking choreography that pits Sonic's speed against Shadow's cold, calculated power. The battle is electric, the forces of nature itself seeming to bend under the intensity of their blows, as Sonic, no longer just the overconfident hero, faces an opponent who challenges him in ways he's never experienced before. Shadow moves with precision, each strike calculated to exploit Sonic's every vulnerability. The speed and agility that once set Sonic apart from all others now feel less like an advantage and more like a liability in this contest of wills. Sonic's usual cockiness is gone, replaced by a determination to understand the deep rift between him and Shadow, and to find a way to defeat him without losing himself in the process. This first major confrontation is both thrilling and sobering, as Sonic realizes that the battle is not just physical, it's emotional. Shadow's words during the fight hint at a larger backstory, a tragic history of betrayal and loss that mirrors Sonic's own journey in many ways. Shadow's stoic demeanor and his piercing gaze suggest that he is more than just an adversary. He is someone haunted by pain, by memories of a life that was torn apart, just as Sonic's was. The fight ends in a stalemate, with Sonic barely escaping the confrontation alive, his body bruised, but his spirit, though rattled, still resolute. It's a moment that sets the stage for a deeper exploration of Shadow's past, and, by extension, the revelation that Sonic, too, has more at stake in this fight than he initially realized. As Sonic recuperates, the film shifts focus to Robotnik's escalating plan. The mad genius, now more unhinged than ever, reveals the full extent of his scheme. Using the ancient artifacts that Knuckles has been protecting, he intends to open a portal to another dimension, a place where time and space themselves can be manipulated. This will not only allow Robotnik to bend reality to his will, but also give him the power to rewrite history itself. As the team unravels the implications of Robotnik's design, they realize that if the portal opens, everything they know, every person they love, every place they hold dear, could be lost forever. The threat is no longer just about stopping Robotnik. It's about preventing an unimaginable catastrophe. However, it's not just Robotnik's power that Sonic and his friends must face. The real twist comes when they discover that Shadow is not a mere pawn in Robotnik's plan. He is an unwilling participant. The cold, detached figure they've been fighting against turns out to have a deep connection to the ancient power that Robotnik is seeking. Shadow was not simply created as a weapon of destruction. He was a prototype, a being born out of a tragic experiment designed to preserve and protect the very power Robotnik is now trying to control. His memories, fragmented and buried deep within, begin to surface, revealing a history intertwined with the fate of the world and a personal connection to Maria, a girl who was once his only friend, and who died in the midst of a betrayal that shattered his soul. As the truth about Shadow's past begins to surface, the narrative takes on a more emotional tone. Sonic's initial antagonism towards Shadow evolves into something more complex. They are not so different, after all. Both have been shaped by loss, by isolation, by a world that sees them as something other than they truly are. Sonic sees in Shadow a version of himself that could have turned darker, a version of himself that could have given into rage, despair, and vengeance. In a pivotal moment, Shadow reveals to Sonic that his purpose, his very existence, is tied to Sonic's in ways that neither of them fully understands. Shadow, for all his hatred and resentment, has been searching for something within himself, something that could give him redemption. This realization stuns Sonic, who now sees his adversary not as a mere threat, but as a tragic figure caught in a conflict far beyond either of their control. The team, now united with this new understanding of Shadow, attempts to confront Robotnik one final time. The urgency intensifies as Robotnik's portal nears completion, and the forces of destruction begin to swirl around them. The film moves toward its climax with a heightened sense of desperation, as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and even Shadow, now reluctantly aligned with them, must prevent the world from falling apart. It's here, in this final confrontation, that the emotional stakes reach their peak. Sonic and Shadow, their fates now intertwined, face off once again. But this time, the fight is different. There is no animosity, no bitterness, just two warriors, each fighting for what they believe is right, but with the understanding that they are both fighting to protect the future of their world. The battle takes place in the heart of Robotnik's lair, a vast and twisting network of metal and machinery that seems to pulse with a life of its own. The tension is suffocating as Sonic and Shadow race through the facility, each utilizing their unique powers to counter the other. Sonic, still faster, still braver, finds himself relying more on his wits than ever before, using his speed to outmaneuver Shadow's brutal strikes. Yet Shadow, with his ability to manipulate chaos energy, proves to be an even match, his movements slick and calculated, his attacks aimed at bringing Sonic to his knees. The battle is a spectacle of precision, each move flowing into the next, as the two combatants trade blows in a dazzling choreography of chaos energy and raw power. Amid the chaos of the final confrontation, Robotnik makes his move, activating the portal and sending waves of destructive energy coursing through the facility. The fabric of reality itself begins to tear, threatening to collapse everything into nothingness. It's in this moment of sheer chaos that Sonic, fully embracing his role as the hero, understands that the true power doesn't lie in speed or strength. It lies in the connections he's made, in the friendships that have grown between him and his team. With Shadow standing beside him, each drawing on the other's strength, they make one last push to shut down Robotnik's plan. The unity of their combined forces, Sonic's speed, Tails' intellect, Knuckles' strength, and even Shadow's dark power, creates a moment of synergy that halts the portal just in time. Robotnik, defeated and consumed by his own hubris, is left trapped in the collapsing dimension, his ambitions undone by the very forces he sought to control. In the aftermath, the world breathes a collective sigh of relief, but the true emotional core of the film unfolds in its closing moments. Sonic, having fought not only his external enemies but his internal demons as well, stands with Shadow, Tails, and Knuckles, together, victorious but changed. Shadow, having found some measure of peace in his understanding of his own purpose, looks to Sonic, who offers him a hand of camaraderie. The two hedgehogs, once bitter enemies, share a moment of quiet respect, knowing that their fates are now irrevocably linked. Shadow's journey is far from over, but in this moment, he's no longer the weapon he was made to be. He is his own person, with a new path to follow. The movie closes on a hopeful note, with the promise that the adventure is far from finished. Sonic, ever the optimist, runs off into the horizon, ready for whatever challenges may come next. Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow follow behind, each carrying with them the weight of their individual journeys, but also the bonds they've forged along the way. The world may be safe for now, but the adventure continues. And in the end, that is what matters most, not the battles won, but the friendships made, and the hope that no matter how dark the world may seem, there is always light to guide them forward. With the screen fading to black, it's clear that Sonic's journey is far from over, and that the bonds he shares with his friends will continue to be the driving force behind whatever challenges lie ahead. Sonic the Hedgehog, the 3rd of May, have come to a thrilling conclusion, but its message, of unity, redemption, and the enduring power of friendship, lingers long after the credits roll. As the story of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 unfolds, it's the characters that anchor the film, each playing a vital role in driving the plot forward and providing emotional depth to the action-packed spectacle. At the heart of this universe is Sonic himself, whose journey in this film is more personal and complex than ever before. Sonic is, as always, the embodiment of speed, courage, and rebellious energy, but in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, we see a version of him who is grappling with deeper questions about identity, friendship, and the true meaning of heroism. Sonic's evolution in this film is subtle yet profound. While he remains the brash, carefree adventurer we've come to know, the weight of his interactions with the people he cares about, Tails, Knuckles, and even the mysterious Shadow, forces him to examine what it really means to be a hero. At the start of the film, Sonic is as confident as ever, barreling through life with his usual cocky smile, using his speed and wit to get out of tight situations. However, when the stakes are raised and the team realizes the enormity of Robotnik's plan, Sonic finds himself in uncharted territory. His usual methods, reckless speed, off-the-cuff decisions, aren't enough to deal with the forces they face, particularly the enigmatic Shadow. For the first time, Sonic is forced to confront not just the villain, but his own fears and doubts. The rivalry between Sonic and Shadow brings an intensity to the narrative, but it also presents an opportunity for Sonic to reflect on his own vulnerabilities. His journey is one of maturation, learning that true strength doesn't lie in being the fastest, but in having the courage to face the darker parts of himself and to lean on his friends for support. The voice performance, once again provided by Ben Schwartz, continues to bring Sonic's youthful exuberance and boundless optimism to life. Schwartz captures Sonic's energy and humor with a natural ease, making his character instantly likable, while also allowing for moments of introspection that add layers to his character. It's the moments where Sonic hesitates, where his usual bravado falters, that are some of the film's most compelling. Sonic isn't just the hero of the story, he's the emotional anchor, the one who holds the team together in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. In contrast to Sonic's wild energy, Tails provides a grounded, intelligent counterbalance. As Sonic's loyal sidekick, Tails has always been the brainy counterpart to Sonic's impulsive nature. But in this film, his role is elevated as he becomes more integral to the team's success. Tails, voiced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, is far from the timid character we've seen in the past. His grown, matured, and his intellect and resourcefulness shine through in the most critical moments. Throughout the story, Tails wrestles with his own fears of being underestimated and proves that, while he may not have Sonic's speed or Knuckles' strength, his mind and determination make him an indispensable part of the team. Tails' growth as a character is particularly noticeable in his evolving relationship with Knuckles. While Tails has always been the more cautious and reserved member of the group, his bond with Knuckles allows him to step out of his comfort zone. There's a natural camaraderie between the two. Knuckles, with his physical strength and unwavering loyalty, complements Tails' intellect and emotional wisdom. Together, they make a formidable team, and as the narrative unfolds, Tails learns to trust in his own instincts as much as he trusts in his friends. Knuckles, voiced with stoic authority by Idris Elba, is another character who undergoes a subtle yet significant transformation in this film. In the earlier entries of the series, Knuckles was primarily a character defined by his physical prowess and somewhat over-the-top, aggressive tendencies. However, in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Knuckles becomes more than just a brawler. He's a protector, a guardian of something larger than himself. His role as the keeper of the ancient artifacts that Robotnik seeks adds a layer of responsibility and gravitas to his character. Knuckles' backstory, rooted in his duty to protect the power that could save or doom their world, gives him a personal stake in the fight against Robotnik. Knuckles' relationship with Sonic is also more complex than in the past. While the two have always shared a mutual respect, the stakes of the mission and the gravity of the situation bring out a new side of their bond. Knuckles is no longer just the tough guy on the team. He's a trusted ally, one whose loyalty is unwavering. His interactions with Sonic shift from rivalry to brotherhood, and their dynamic adds a layer of heart to the film. Elba's deep, commanding voice brings both intensity and subtlety to the character, making Knuckles a compelling presence in every scene he's in. Then there's the film's newest and most intriguing character, Shadow. Introduced as a mysterious, enigmatic figure who seems to exist in opposition to everything Sonic stands for, Shadow becomes the emotional center of the film's second half. His motivations, initially unclear, gradually come into focus, revealing a tragic backstory and a personal connection to both Sonic and the larger narrative. Shadow, voiced by Keanu Reeves, is a character defined by inner conflict, a tortured soul whose dark past shapes every decision he makes. What sets Shadow apart from other antagonists is his complexity. He's not purely evil, nor is he a simple hero. Instead, he's a character shaped by grief, betrayal, and a desire for redemption. Reeves's portrayal of Shadow is brilliant in its restraint. He brings a haunting gravitas to the character, perfectly capturing the loneliness and internal struggle that defines Shadow. With every word, every action, Reeves imbues Shadow with a sense of tragic nobility. He is, in many ways, the anti-Sonic. Where Sonic is carefree and optimistic, Shadow is brooding and melancholic. Where Sonic is driven by his need to protect his world, Shadow's motivations stem from a deep-seated need to understand who he truly is and what his place in the universe should be. Shadow's arc is one of self-discovery, a journey that runs parallel to Sonic's own, as the two are forced to confront not just each other, but the darker parts of themselves. While Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow drive the main narrative, the secondary characters are just as integral to the story's success. Dr. Robotnik, once again portrayed by Jim Carrey, is the perfect foil to the more grounded characters. Carrey's portrayal of Robotnik is a tour de force, blending manic energy with moments of surprising vulnerability. This time around, Robotnik's plans are more ambitious and dangerous, but his obsession with defeating Sonic, as well as his comedic antics, provide a sense of levity amidst the chaos. However, the film also shows us a new side of Robotnik, one who is not merely motivated by power, but by a deep desire for control over a reality that he can manipulate to his liking. Carrey's performance balances humor and menace, making Robotnik both a formidable antagonist and a source of dark comedy. Then there's Agent Stone, Robotnik's ever-loyal assistant, who provides a layer of nuance to Robotnik's character. Played by Lee Majdoub, Stone is more than just a henchman. His loyalty to Robotnik, his quiet devotion, and his oddball personality provide moments of surprising depth and comedy, especially as the film delves into his growing disillusionment with his employer's increasingly erratic behavior. Stone's moments of vulnerability and his occasional bursts of independent thought add a layer of unpredictability to the otherwise straightforward villain dynamic. There are also several smaller yet essential characters who help to move the plot along, including Maria, whose backstory with Shadow adds a deeply emotional layer to the film, and several members of the global resistance who aid Sonic and his team in their efforts to stop Robotnik. These characters, though not as prominent as the main cast, provide essential emotional beats that further enrich the story. Ultimately, the success of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 lies in the depth and complexity of its characters. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow are more than just action figures on a screen. They are characters who evolve and change over the course of the story, each with their own motivations, struggles, and moments of triumph. The performances, from Schwartz's light-hearted energy to Elba's gravitas and Reeves's quiet intensity, bring these characters to life in a way that makes them resonate far beyond the film's action sequences. Even secondary characters, from Robotnik to Agent Stone, add depth and richness to the world they inhabit, making Sonic the Hedgehog 3 a truly immersive cinematic experience. It's a testament to the strength of the film's writing and performances that by the end of the movie, we feel a connection to each of these characters, a sense of their growth and transformation, and a hope for what lies ahead in their journeys. Through their victories, failures, and the bonds they forge, they become more than just figures on a screen. They become a family, united by their shared adventures and their shared hope for a better tomorrow. As Sonic the Hedgehog 3 speeds into the hearts of fans, it becomes clear that the film isn't just a fun, action-packed romp. It's a love letter to both the series' rich history and the wider pop culture it inhabits. Hidden within the dazzling visual effects, fast-paced sequences, and explosive showdowns are subtle references, clever foreshadowing, and nods to past Sonic games, movies, and even to other iconic franchises. For fans with a sharp eye, these hidden details serve as delightful Easter eggs that deepen the experience and reward those who pay attention to every frame. Whether it's the unmistakable return of familiar motifs from earlier games or the sly tribute to the world of cinema and video games, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 makes sure to leave a trail of crumbs for the observant viewer to follow. The film's opening, for example, immediately sets the tone for what's to come. As the camera glides over the lush, expansive landscapes of green hills, there's a faint but unmistakable hum of a familiar melody, the signature Green Hill Zone theme. At first, it's subtle, almost background noise, but it's enough to stir nostalgia in anyone who grew up playing the original Sonic the Hedgehog games on the Sega Genesis. This isn't just a soundtrack choice, it's a deliberate touch that connects the past to the present, signaling that this new chapter in Sonic's journey isn't just about moving forward, it's about honoring the origins of the franchise. Throughout the movie, small renditions of iconic tracks from the games appear, often in the form of brief motifs or instrumentals, grounding the film in Sonic's musical legacy while giving longtime fans an extra thrill. As Sonic and his team embark on their mission to stop Robotnik, their travels lead them to locations that feel eerily familiar to fans of the Sonic universe. One of the most memorable scenes involves Sonic and Tails navigating a vast, ancient temple hidden deep within a jungle, a location that echoes the design of Sonic CD's Little Planet. The architecture of the temple, with its spiraling columns and towering structures, directly mirrors the look of the special stages from the game, where Sonic races against time to collect rings. This isn't just a background choice, it's a visual callback that creates a sense of continuity, showing that while Sonic's world is constantly evolving, it still remains tied to the foundational elements that fans know and love. But the true joy of the film for the most ardent fans comes from the introduction of Shadow the Hedgehog. This character, long rumored to be a part of the story, brings with him not only a new layer of tension and mystery but a whole new set of references for fans to uncover. The introduction of Shadow is no accident. Every detail of his entrance is carefully constructed to harken back to his origins in Sonic Adventure 2. The film opens with Shadow's silhouette in a darkened room, a slow reveal that mirrors his first appearance in the 2001 game. The mysterious tone of his introduction, the shifting shadows, the ominous music, echoes the air of enigma that surrounded him in his debut. Shadow's brooding presence in the film is not just a character choice, it's a tribute to how he was initially perceived by fans. A dark mirror to Sonic, someone who posed a threat but was also deeply intertwined with Sonic's own story. As the narrative unfolds, subtle references to Sonic Adventure 2 continue to surface. One of the most thrilling moments for longtime fans occurs when Sonic and Shadow face off in a high-speed chase across a futuristic city. The imagery of two hedgehogs racing through a neon-lit urban landscape is an obvious homage to the game's final battle, where Sonic and Shadow engage in an intense race through space. The callbacks here are not just visual. The music swells with elements reminiscent of Escape from the City, the iconic track that accompanies the game's stages. These moments are sprinkled throughout the film, often so seamlessly woven into the action that they reward fans who are paying attention while still serving the larger narrative. The film doesn't just look to the past for inspiration. It also carefully plants seeds for what lies ahead, teasing future installments and keeping the audience on their toes. The mysterious element of Maria, Shadow's tragic past, is hinted at in the film's dialogue, but it's presented in a way that makes it clear this story is far from over. As Shadow reflects on his lost connection to Maria, a quick flash of light in the background reveals a symbol, an ancient crest resembling the Master Emerald. This brief flash, barely noticeable unless the viewer is paying close attention, is a foreshadowing of the deeper cosmic conflict that will likely emerge in the following films. The mention of Maria's fate is not just an emotional beat for Shadow. It's a clue that the emeralds and the forces that control them will play a significant role in the larger narrative of the Sonic franchise. One of the most intriguing Easter eggs in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 involves the subtle inclusion of the Chow creatures. During a scene set in a high-tech laboratory where Robotnik is plotting his next move, the camera pans across his desk, where a small, unassuming figure sits. It's a Chow, a creature that has appeared throughout various Sonic games, but most notably in Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. The Chow is barely acknowledged, but its presence is undeniable, a perfect example of a fan service moment that doesn't disrupt the flow of the story. For those who recognize the creature, it's a quiet nod to the past, a reminder that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is part of a much larger world. The Sonic films have always had a playful relationship with the concept of speed, and this is reflected in numerous visual cues and moments throughout the movie. A particularly fun Easter egg occurs during a chase sequence in which Sonic is trying to outrun an explosive device planted by Robotnik. As Sonic bolts down a winding path, there's a brief shot of him speeding past a sign that reads 9.8 meters per square second, the acceleration due to gravity. This moment, while easily overlooked, is a delightful wink to physics enthusiasts and longtime fans of the series, a tongue-in-cheek reference to Sonic's often impossible, yet exhilarating, feats of speed. In addition to its references to Sonic's own lore, the film also nods to other cultural touchstones, seamlessly integrating elements from other beloved franchises. A standout Easter egg is the visual cue that appears during a particularly tense showdown between Sonic and Robotnik. As Sonic stands poised to take action, the camera zooms in on his shoes, revealing a striking detail. The soles of his sneakers are emblazoned with a pattern that unmistakably resembles the bat signal. While this might initially seem like a subtle design choice, it's an unmistakable homage to Batman, both a nod to the character's long history in pop culture and a playful connection between two iconic heroes who share a commitment to justice and protection. The film also includes a delightful meta moment, with Sonic engaging in a playful conversation with Knuckles about the rules of being a hero. Sonic delivers a line about having a cool cape or some kind of flashy gadget, prompting Knuckles to shake his head and comment, "Not every hero needs gadgets, Sonic. Some of us just need our fists." This tongue-in-cheek exchange is clearly a playful dig at other superhero films, a reminder that while Sonic may not have a utility belt or a Batmobile, his heart and his speed are more than enough to save the day. The love for Sonic's roots is also woven into the film's design. with many of the action sequences playing out in ways that feel like they've been lifted straight from the games. There's a thrilling sequence in which Sonic races through a series of loop-de-loops, evoking memories of the classic levels in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic CD. As he runs, the world around him starts to blur, the speed and colors blending together in a psychedelic, vertigo-inducing way that feels like a visual representation of the Chaos Emerald's power. For fans, this is more than just a visual spectacle. It's a loving tribute to the mechanics of the games, a way to bring the experience of playing a Sonic title to life on the big screen. Throughout the film, there's a sense of playful subversion as well, particularly in how the film uses its visual cues to trick the audience. In one particularly cheeky moment, a seemingly dangerous situation is diffused when Sonic's speed actually turns out to be a carefully timed joke. As Sonic races through a dangerous obstacle course set by Robotnik, the action seems to be building toward an explosive climax. But in the final moment, Sonic leaps into the air and lands right into a well-timed slapstick gag involving Agent Stone. The sheer absurdity of the moment is jarring at first, but it's also a knowing wink at the audience, a playful nod to the Sonic franchise's tradition of mixing over-the-top action with slapstick humor. As Sonic the Hedgehog 3 races toward its climax, it's clear that this film is not only a continuation of Sonic's journey, but a reflection of everything that has come before it. From the nostalgic callbacks to the games, to the sly references to other pop culture giants, to the foreshadowing that promises even greater adventures to come, the film rewards its viewers at every turn. It's a testament to the filmmakers' love for the franchise and their commitment to crafting an experience that feels both fresh and familiar. For those who take the time to peel back the layers, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 reveals itself to be a treasure. In the whirlwind of excitement surrounding Sonic the Hedgehog 3, a film that combines high-speed action with heart, humor, and some truly mind-bending visuals, a number of unusual, behind-the-scenes facts and curious events have emerged, adding layers of intrigue to the production. While the film is ultimately a celebration of the iconic Blue Hedgehog's cinematic journey, its making was anything but straightforward. What might seem like just another franchise installment turned out to be a much more complicated affair, with its share of peculiar production challenges, unusual cast choices, and curious behind-the-scenes stories that have kept fans and industry insiders buzzing. One of the first fascinating facts that quickly became known about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was the degree of secrecy that surrounded the film's development. Long before the cameras even began to roll, fans were already eagerly speculating about which characters would be included and how the story would unfold. As early as 2022, the film's creators went to great lengths to keep details under wraps, and that secrecy reached absurd levels at times. In fact, several key script pages were delivered to cast members in code, often with entire sequences blacked out, and were handed over only hours before filming began. The goal was to prevent any leaks from reaching the public, especially since the inclusion of Shadow the Hedgehog, one of the most anticipated characters, was meant to be a surprise. The filmmakers were determined not to let anything slip until the official reveal, so much so that some actors weren't fully aware of their characters' fates until they stepped onto set, leaving them with a genuine sense of discovery about the story's twists. Speaking of Shadow, one of the strangest facts about the movie involves the casting of this iconic character. Keanu Reeves, the Hollywood action star known for his roles in John Wick and The Matrix, was chosen to voice the enigmatic, anti-hero Hedgehog, a decision that raised eyebrows across the film industry. At first, many questioned why a character like Shadow, whose origins in the games are steeped in a darker, more serious tone, would be voiced by someone as associated with action-packed, philosophical characters as Reeves. But the casting was not as out of left field as it seemed. It turns out that the filmmakers were looking for someone who could bring both gravitas and depth to Shadow's character, someone who could convey both the character's tragic backstory and his simmering anger. Reeves, with his stoic demeanor and ability to imbue his characters with a sense of melancholy, was considered the perfect choice. Yet, Reeves' involvement wasn't an immediate slam dunk. It took several months of negotiations to get him on board. The most peculiar part? Reeves didn't initially want to be involved in the project at all. According to several reports, his first reaction upon hearing about the film's offer was one of skepticism. He had little to no experience with the Sonic franchise and didn't quite understand the character's cultural significance. It wasn't until he sat down for a meeting with director Jeff Fowler and producer Toby Ascher that he began to warm to the idea. In fact, Reeves had been mostly interested in the character's complexity, especially the emotional arc Shadow would undergo in the film, and ultimately agreed to join the project after being convinced that it would offer him the chance to explore something new, a deeper, more vulnerable side of his acting range. Once Reeves agreed to take on the role, however, he brought his trademark intensity and focused work ethic to the character. The actor even insisted on working with the animators to develop Shadow's movements in a way that felt authentic to him. According to Fowler, there were days when Reeves would do multiple voice takes, each one imbued with a slightly different emotional edge, trying to find just the right combination of pain, anger, and determination to match the character's intricate backstory. There were also whispers that Reeves had become deeply attached to his role as Shadow and would sometimes remain on set long after his scenes were finished, working with the filmmakers to refine his lines, ensuring that his character's nuances were fully realized. But it wasn't just Reeves who had unique experiences working on the film. Jim Carrey, returning as Dr. Robotnik, also had his fair share of quirky moments on set. The actor, known for his over-the-top, physical comedy, initially had reservations about playing Robotnik again after the events of the previous film. Having put his all into his portrayal of the villain in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Carrey wasn't sure he could bring anything new to the role. But after a conversation with the film's director, Carrey agreed to reprise his role, on one condition: that the script be rewritten to incorporate his own improvisational ideas. The result was an even zanier, more unpredictable version of Robotnik, complete with bizarre one-liners and unexpected physical gags that had the crew in stitches. It's rumored that some of Carrey's most memorable scenes, especially the moments in which Robotnik interacts with Agent Stone, were completely improvised on the spot, with Carrey bringing his unique energy to each take and riffing off of the actors around him. Carrey's improvisational style wasn't just confined to his scenes with the other characters. In fact, one of the film's strangest stories comes from a particularly out-of-the-box decision the actor made during filming. At one point, Carrey became so immersed in his portrayal of Robotnik that he insisted on wearing the character's full costume, including the elaborate mustache and giant red coat, even when he wasn't needed for filming. This became something of a running joke on set, with Carrey walking around in full Robotnik regalia, sometimes even showing up to directors' meetings as the villain, much to the amusement and occasional confusion of the crew. Meanwhile, the film's animators had their own set of strange challenges to overcome. With Sonic's world continuously expanding, the sheer scope of visual effects in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was unlike anything seen before in the franchise. One of the most difficult aspects of the animation process was perfecting the rendering of Shadow's special abilities, which, according to animators, required an entirely new set of techniques. Shadow's use of chaos control, his ability to manipulate time and space, had to be integrated seamlessly into the live-action sequences. The challenge was not just making Shadow's powers look believable, but ensuring that they fit within the visual language of the film's established world. One of the more unusual production stories from the animation team involves a late-night brainstorming session, where animators started to experiment with different visual effects, throwing out ideas that ranged from the simple to the outlandish. At one point, an animator suggested a reality warping effect that would show the world distorting around Shadow every time he activated chaos control. The team spent several nights working on this effect, which ultimately became one of the film's standout moments. However, even with all these creative innovations, the film was not without its controversies. One of the most talked-about moments occurred when fans began to notice a certain inconsistency in the character designs. Sonic, as always, looked like the fast, spunky hero everyone knows, but there was some confusion over the depiction of Tails. For some reason, his character design in certain scenes appeared more exaggerated. His eyes were larger, his tail was more prominently displayed, and his fur texture seemed slightly more cartoonish than in previous films. Fans quickly took to social media to voice their concerns, accusing the filmmakers of overhauling Tails' design for marketing purposes. In an effort to clear the air, the film's visual effects team responded in a public statement, explaining that Tails' appearance had been intentionally updated to make him more expressive in the high-speed, high-emotion sequences the story demanded. The statement also noted that the film had experimented with multiple versions of Tails' design, ultimately finding a middle ground between staying true to the character's original look and making sure he stood out in the chaotic action sequences. Another controversy that caused a stir was the film's handling of the character Maria. In the games, Maria is an integral part of Shadow's backstory, but the filmmakers decided to take some creative liberties with her role in the movie. While the film does hint at Maria's importance to Shadow's character arc, there were significant changes made to her storyline, sparking debates among fans. Some expressed disappointment that the film didn't delve deeper into Maria's connection to Shadow, while others appreciated the more subtle, emotional approach the filmmakers chose. These changes prompted discussions about the film's balance between staying faithful to the games and adapting the story for a broader audience. In the end, it was clear that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 had made a calculated decision to prioritize the emotional resonance of the film, rather than adhere strictly to the game's established lore. Despite the controversies and the strange events that unfolded during production, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 remains a testament to the creativity and dedication of its cast and crew. From the surprising casting choices to the innovative visual effects, the making of the film was nothing short of a rollercoaster ride. The end result is a film that not only honors the legacy of the beloved character but also adds new layers to the Sonic mythos, creating a cinematic experience that will be remembered for years to come. Whether it's the bizarre improvisations of Jim Carrey, the secretive script leaks, or the challenges of animating time-bending powers, these oddities and challenges all played a part in making the film the unforgettable adventure it is. As the story of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 unfolds, there are moments that feel almost electric in their intensity, scenes that not only accelerate the plot but also delve deep into the emotional core of the characters. These key events function as pivotal turning points that shape the tone and resonance of the movie, making them crucial not only for moving the narrative forward but for exploring the deeper themes the film addresses. There is a constant tension between action and emotional development, and it's in these moments that the film finds its true heart. Whether it's a split-second decision that changes the course of the story or a larger, more profound event that redefines a character's journey. These are the scenes where the stakes feel highest, and yet, in their own ways, they also reveal the essence of the characters and the film itself. One of the most emotionally charged sequences in the film occurs early on, when Sonic, feeling the weight of his responsibilities, takes a moment to reflect on his journey. It's a quiet, introspective scene, where Sonic stands atop a cliff overlooking the expansive horizon, grappling with his role as a hero. This scene sets the tone for the entire movie, subtly introducing a key theme that will resonate throughout: the burden of expectation. Sonic, as the hero, is often seen as invincible, quick-witted, and almost carefree. But this moment, alone and vulnerable, strips him of that facade. It's here that we first see Sonic as more than just a speedster or a wisecracking adventurer. The scene highlights a more nuanced side of him, one that's unsure of his place in a world that constantly expects him to save the day. The choice to frame this moment against the vast, open landscape emphasizes Sonic's isolation. He's not just battling external forces, he's also wrestling with the weight of his identity. This early emotional beat sets up the rest of the film's exploration of what it means to be a hero, a theme that will be revisited and expanded upon as the plot progresses. This sequence also introduces a secondary, yet equally important, theme of belonging and identity. Sonic's struggle to reconcile who he is with who others expect him to be mirrors a common experience that many can relate to. The scene doesn't just act as a character beat for Sonic. It serves as a vehicle for the audience to connect with him on a deeper, more personal level. In a film known for its fast-paced action and humorous one-liners, this moment provides a pause, a chance to reflect. It's a reminder that even heroes, no matter how quick or powerful, are subject to doubts and insecurities. This thematic thread is woven into the fabric of the film, but it is at this moment, on that solitary cliff, that the emotional undercurrent of the story is first fully realized. As the plot moves forward, the introduction of Shadow, voiced by Keanu Reeves, brings with it a seismic shift in both the narrative and the tone of the film. Shadow's arrival is more than just a plot twist. It's a catalyst for the exploration of darker themes, specifically those of revenge, loyalty, and the question of identity. The introduction scene, where Shadow first confronts Sonic, sets the stage for the emotional and philosophical battle that will define much of the film's later conflict. Reeves's portrayal of Shadow is one of understated intensity. His voice brings a gravity to the character that complements the film's more light-hearted moments. The first exchange between Sonic and Shadow is charged with tension, but it's not just the anticipation of a physical confrontation that lingers, it's the ideological clash that begins to form. Shadow is not simply another villain for Sonic to defeat. He is a mirror, reflecting everything Sonic wishes he could be, yet also everything he fears. While Sonic represents the carefree heroism of youth, Shadow is the embodiment of experience, pain, and self-doubt. Their interaction serves as a catalyst for Sonic to face not just an external challenge but an internal one. This moment also foreshadows the film's later exploration of how rivalry and conflict can both shape and deepen a person's sense of self. The battle between Sonic and Shadow is not just about physical speed or power, but about their differing approaches to life. Sonic, with his impulsive, go-for-broke attitude, and Shadow, with his deliberate and calculated demeanor, represent two sides of a coin, one driven by instinct and the other by reflection. This dynamic fuels not only their confrontation but the film's exploration of their individual journeys. The battle between them becomes symbolic of the clash between youthful idealism and the harsh reality of experience. As the story progresses, the emotional stakes of their rivalry rise, culminating in a sequence that brings both characters to a breaking point. But it's not just the action of the scene that captivates. It's the realization that, in some strange way, they need each other to fully understand themselves. The tension between Sonic and Shadow reaches its peak during the film's third act, where a major twist occurs, one that shifts the very foundation of what the audience believes to be true about the characters. In this moment, the film transitions from a traditional hero-villain narrative to a more complex exploration of identity, loss, and redemption. Without giving too much away, it's here that Sonic discovers a painful truth about his past, a revelation that turns his world upside down and forces him to reevaluate everything he thought he knew. The twist isn't just a plot device, it's the emotional turning point of the film. The impact of this revelation is felt not just by Sonic but by the audience as well. It's a gut punch, a moment of realization that the path to becoming a hero isn't as straightforward as it seems. The gravity of this moment is heightened by the incredible performances of the cast, particularly Ben Schwartz, who imbues Sonic with a vulnerability and depth that makes this revelation all the more powerful. It's a perfect example of how a seemingly simple twist can be elevated through a combination of great writing, direction, and performance. As the film hurtles toward its conclusion, the emotional stakes are at an all-time high. What started as a light-hearted adventure has morphed into a story about growth, self-discovery, and sacrifice. The climax, which involves a desperate confrontation with Robotnik, is filled with bombastic action, high-speed chases, and jaw-dropping visual effects. However, what makes this final battle so resonant is how it intertwines with the character arcs that have been developed throughout the film. Sonic, who was once driven by a desire to prove himself, is now fighting not for glory but for something much more important: the safety of his friends and the realization that being a hero means sacrificing something of yourself. This is the emotional crux of the film, the realization that heroism is not about speed, strength, or flashy moves. It's about the willingness to put others first, to make difficult choices, and to face the darkest parts of yourself. The stakes may be high, but the personal stakes for Sonic, Shadow, and even Robotnik are far higher. This final act doesn't just resolve the plot. It closes the emotional loops that have been set up throughout the film, offering a satisfying, albeit bittersweet, conclusion. Throughout these key moments, the film's thematic undercurrent is consistent. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a story about self-discovery. It's about learning that growth often comes with a painful cost, that being a hero is not about always having the answers or being the fastest, but about being willing to confront your own flaws. These emotional beats resonate deeply because they are universal. The film may be set in a world full of chaos emeralds and anthropomorphic hedgehogs, but its heart lies in the very human experiences of doubt, pain, and redemption. The key scenes that drive this point home, the quiet moment of introspection on the cliff, the battle between Sonic and Shadow, and the emotional twist that reshapes everything, are not just the pillars of the plot. They are the emotional heartbeat of the film, providing a narrative structure that elevates the story far beyond the realm of a typical action-adventure movie. These moments shape the audience's experience, ensuring that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is not just remembered for its stunning visuals or explosive action sequences but for the way it made us feel, the way it made us think about who we are, who we want to be, and what we're willing to sacrifice to get there. When the production of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 began, it was immediately clear that the creative team had a vision that extended far beyond the scope of a typical video game adaptation. The pressure to meet fan expectations, while simultaneously advancing the story into new territory, was immense. Yet, despite these challenges, the team behind the film demonstrated a remarkable ability to blend cutting-edge technology with an understanding of the essence of Sonic's world. From the first frame of production to the final sequence, every choice was made with one goal in mind: to elevate the experience in a way that would resonate with both longtime fans and newcomers to the franchise. A standout aspect of the film's technical achievement is its groundbreaking visual effects. The Sonic films, already known for their high level of detail and fluid animation, took a giant leap forward in this third installment. This time, the creative team worked with an expanded team of visual effects artists, bringing in specialists from all over the world to ensure that the film's larger-than-life action scenes felt grounded in a way that viewers could truly connect with. The motion capture used for the characters, especially Sonic and Shadow, was a key point of innovation. Unlike traditional CGI-heavy films, where characters are often modeled and animated digitally from scratch, the team took a more nuanced approach. Using the latest advancements in performance capture technology, they worked to map the characters' movements and emotions with unprecedented accuracy, creating performances that felt both human and fantastical at once. The process was long and painstaking, requiring several months of on-set work, where even the smallest gesture, like a raised eyebrow or a flick of the wrist, was carefully observed and transferred to the digital world. As production moved forward, however, challenges arose. The complexity of rendering Sonic's world, one where the laws of physics are stretched to their limits, became a logistical nightmare. The team had to balance the need for spectacle with the inherent constraints of realism. Sonic's iconic speed, which is integral to his character, had to be represented in a way that was visually striking but still felt believable. The high-speed sequences, which are a hallmark of the series, presented a unique problem. If they were too exaggerated or too frantic, they would lose the impact of their emotional beats. Yet if they were too restrained, they might fall flat and disappoint fans expecting a high-energy, fast-paced adventure. The solution was found in a combination of advanced camera techniques and an in-depth understanding of Sonic's character and abilities. Using cutting-edge virtual cameras, the team was able to create shots that felt dynamic without sacrificing the emotional weight of the scenes. The speed of the action was accentuated through clever editing and visual tricks, where the audience's perception of time was warped, making Sonic's lightning-fast movements feel not just rapid, but almost otherworldly. There were moments during production where the team had to embrace their limitations and innovate around them. For instance, a pivotal sequence that takes place within the labyrinthine ruins of an ancient city presented a series of technical hurdles. The complex architecture, set pieces, and lighting made it difficult for the team to achieve the level of detail and lighting effects they wanted. Initially, it looked as though the sequence would need to be drastically simplified. But after a series of brainstorming sessions, the production team decided to push the limits of what was possible with digital rendering, employing a combination of practical set elements and real-time CGI. Rather than constructing entire environments from scratch, they built highly detailed partial sets that were then digitally extended. This allowed the team to focus their resources on creating high-definition textures and lighting effects that would make the world feel immersive and tangible. The result was a blend of physical and digital worlds that maintained the integrity of the visual design while also allowing for fluid, interactive sequences that showcased Sonic and his allies at their highest speed. It was a moment of innovation born out of necessity, but it ended up becoming one of the most visually compelling sections of the film. The challenges faced by the creative team were not just limited to the digital realm. As with many large-scale productions, logistical and creative hurdles had to be overcome on the human side as well. One of the most significant aspects of this was the scheduling and coordination required to bring the film's all-star voice cast together. With Keanu Reeves, Idris Elba, Carrey, and Ben Schwartz all returning to their respective roles, As well as the addition of several new characters, the cast's availability was a delicate matter. On top of this, Reeves, who was taking on the role of Shadow, had an especially demanding schedule due to his commitments to other projects. This led to some truly memorable moments behind the scenes, as the team scrambled to ensure that the vocal performances could align with the animation process. There were days when Reeves, known for his commitment to his craft, would stay late on set, performing multiple takes of a single line to perfect the subtle, brooding tone of Shadow's character. His dedication to bringing Shadow to life made a noticeable impact on the film, especially in the emotionally charged scenes that played out between Sonic and Shadow. Idris Elba, who voiced Knuckles in the previous film, faced his own set of challenges. As the film, one of the most striking features of the production was the decision to experiment with color in ways that had never been done before in the franchise. The film's visual palette was carefully chosen to complement the emotional tone of each scene. In moments of intense action or conflict, the colors would often shift to deep, vibrant reds and blues, enhancing the sense of urgency and danger. In more reflective, emotional moments, the color scheme would soften, embracing pastel shades and warm, golden hues to create a sense of peace and resolution. This use of color not only enhanced the mood of the film but also helped visually represent the internal struggles of the characters. Sonic, who was often associated with bright, energetic blue tones, would find himself in moments of dark red or purple when grappling with his own doubts. Shadow, on the other hand, was often framed by deep blues and blacks, symbolizing his internal conflict and brooding nature. In addition to the visual achievements, the sound design was another area where the team pushed boundaries. From the very first moments of the film, the soundscape was rich with detail, blending elements of orchestral music with dynamic electronic beats. This mixture of sound was reflective of the film's theme of balancing light and dark, speed and stillness. The sound designers worked closely with composer Tom Hokenborg, whose score took full advantage of the film's high-stakes moments, ramping up the tension and excitement. But it was in the quieter moments, particularly the emotional beats between Sonic and Shadow, where the score really shone. Hokenborg's music carried a sense of weight and depth, imbuing the film with a somber, yet hopeful tone. Each note seemed to breathe life into the emotional journey the characters were undertaking, making the music just as integral to the experience as the visuals or performances. When it came to post-production, the challenges were just as intense. The editing process had to find the right balance between the film's frenetic pace and the quieter, more reflective moments. It was a tightrope walk, as the team worked to maintain the energy of the action scenes while also allowing the emotional weight of the character arcs to breathe. The pacing, often quick and filled with twists and turns, had to be tempered with quieter, more intimate moments to allow the audience to connect with the characters on a deeper level. The editing team worked closely with the director to ensure that the rhythm of the film felt natural, even when the story was shifting gears at a breakneck pace. Despite the challenges, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 emerged as a remarkable achievement, a film that pushed the boundaries of what was possible in a video game adaptation. The innovative techniques, the technical feats, and the creative choices all came together to create an experience that felt fresh, exciting, and emotionally resonant. It was a testament to the dedication and vision of the filmmakers, who not only honored the legacy of Sonic but expanded it into new, uncharted territory. The impact of these technical and creative choices was felt in every frame, making Sonic the Hedgehog 3 not just a movie, but a cinematic milestone in the world of video game adaptations. Cast: *Ben Schwartz as Sonic the Hedgehog. *Idris Elba as Knuckles the Echidna. *Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails. *Jim Carrey as Dr. Ivo Robotnik. *Kristen Ritter as Maria Robotnik. Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog. James Marston as Tom Wachowski. Tika Sumpter as Maddie Wachowski. Shima Moore as GUN Director Rockwell. Natasha Rothwell as Commander Walters. Adam Pally as Agent Stone. David Tennant as Gerald Robotnik. Additional cast: Jim Meskimen as Longclaw. Danielle Brooks as Fiona Fox, mid-credits cameo. Zachary Levi as Knuckles Army Commander, mid-credits cameo. This cast list brings together a mixture of returning voices and new talent to expand the Sonic universe, with notable performances from Keanu Reeves as the vengeful Shadow and Kristen Ritter as the tragic Maria Robotnik. Voice cast. Ben Schwartz as Sonic the Hedgehog, the fast-talking, adventurous blue hedgehog with supersonic speed, who leads Team Sonic. When he collects the Chaos Emeralds, Sonic transforms into Supersonic. Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Miles Tails Prower, the brilliant, tech-savvy yellow-orange fox with twin tails that allow him to fly. Tails is also skilled at creating gadgets that can disguise, protect, or disable security systems. Idris Elba as Knuckles the Echidna, a strong, no-nonsense red echidna warrior, known for his superhuman strength and the flames of disaster technique, which ignites his fists in battle. Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog, a tragic anti-hero with black fur marked by red stripes, born out of a secret government project. Shadow has teleportation powers, super strength, and, like Sonic, transforms into Super Shadow using the Chaos Emeralds. Reeves' portrayal sought to remain fan-faithful to the character, emphasizing his vengeful past and emotional depth. Amy Rose and multiple Metal Sonics appear in non-speaking cameo roles during the mid-credits scene. Live-action cast. Jim Carrey as Dr. Ivo Robotnik, the eccentric, mad scientist, and Sonic's arch-nemesis, often called Eggman by Sonic. Professor Gerald Robotnik, Evo's grandfather, the creator of Shadow and a key figure in the past. Carrey portrayed Gerald as a hardened, older generation scientist. James Marston as Tom Wachowski, Sonic's adoptive father and the sheriff of Green Hills, Montana, who tries to balance family life with keeping the peace in his town. Tika Sumpter as Maddie Wachowski, Tom's wife and Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles' adoptive mother. She is also a veterinarian in Green Hills. Kristen Ritter as Director Rockwell, a high-ranking officer in the military organization Guardian Units of Nations, GUN, tasked with overseeing the threat Shadow poses. Natasha Rothwell as Rachel, Maddie's sister, who disguises herself to infiltrate GUN headquarters. Shemar Moore as Randall Handel, Rachel's husband, a GUN agent, who is also involved in the infiltration of GUN headquarters. Lee Majdaub as Agent Stone, Dr. Robotnik's devoted assistant who continues to aid his plans. Tom Butler as Commander Walters, the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and leader of GUN, who becomes a key figure in the battle against Shadow. James Wolk as young Commander Walters, a younger version of Walters, appearing in flashbacks. Adam Pally as Wade Whipple, the deputy sheriff of Green Hills, entrusted with guarding the Master Emerald in Knuckles' absence. Alala Brown as Maria Robotnik, Gerald's granddaughter, whose friendship with Shadow during his time in Gerald's lab becomes a central emotional anchor for the character. Sophia Panas and Cristo Fernandez as Gabriela and Pablo Juan, characters in a telenovela that Dr. Robotnik watches during a pivotal scene. Jorma Taccone as Kyle Lancebottom, a GUN agent stationed at the secret prison on Prison Island, where Shadow is held. Production. Development. In March 2020, James Marston confirmed that he had signed on for multiple sequels to Sonic the Hedgehog 2020. In February 2022, Sega Sammy Group and Paramount Pictures began developing a third film after Sonic the Hedgehog 2, 2022. It was formally announced during Viacom CBS's investor event. Jeff Fowler returned as director, with Neal H. Moritz, Toby Ascher, Toru Nakahara, and Hitoshi Oku returning as producers. Haruki Satomi, Shuji Itsumi, Yukio Sugino, Fowler, Tommy Gormley, and Tim Miller served as executive producers. Pat Casey, Josh Miller, and John Whittington returned to write the screenplay, with Casey and Miller also credited for the story. Paul Greenberg and Oren Uziel received off-screen additional literary material credits. A spin-off television series for Paramount Plus, Knuckles, was developed simultaneously with the film. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 draws inspiration from the video games Sonic Adventure 2, 2001, and Shadow the Hedgehog, 2005. Among the elements from Sonic Adventure 2 incorporated were the fairy-like creatures known as Chow, which appear in a Chow Gardens-themed restaurant in Tokyo, where Team Sonic and Shadow face off for the first time. Fowler felt the inclusion of Chow in a popular attraction was very believable and used them as a plot device to provide moments for Team Sonic to regroup and discuss their next steps. In April 2022, Jim Carrey, who portrays Dr. Robotnik, announced that he was considering retiring from acting. With this uncertainty, Moritz and Ascher confirmed that if Carrey followed through with his plans, his role as Robotnik would not be recast. However, they remained hopeful that the right script would convince him to return. Carrey agreed to reprise his role, provided that the script was exceptional. Fowler humorously noted that they printed the script in 24-karat ink, which cost about $100,000, to fulfill Carrey's request for a golden script. Casting and filming second unit filming began in late July 2023 for animated characters, while physical actor production was delayed due to the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike. Principal photography with actors began on November 29, 2023, in London. Brandon Trost returned as cinematographer, and Luke Freeborn was the production designer. In February 2024, Carrey was confirmed to reprise his role as Robotnik. Carrey joked that his return was motivated by the desire to portray a genius and his financial needs. Fowler's team had created dual roles for Carrey to play, with Robotnik and his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, requiring Carrey to spend 3 hours in makeup for each appearance as Gerald. Carrey performed both roles, with actor Brendan Murphy doubling for the opposite character. Alongside Carrey, Ben Schwartz, Tika Sumpter, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, Idris Elba, Lee Majdoub, and Tom Butler were confirmed to return. Kristen Ritter, Alala Brown, James Wolk, Sophia Panes, Cristo Fernandez, and Jorma Taccone were cast in undisclosed roles. On February 16, 2024, Brown's role as Maria Robotnik was revealed. Schwartz began recording for the film shortly after, and Brown filmed her scenes using a shadow puppet for interaction. Filming concluded by March 14, 2024, and was officially wrapped on March 29, 2024. Keanu Reeves was announced as the voice of Shadow on April 15, 2024. Fowler noted that Reeves's performance in the John Wick series was a perfect fit for Shadow's character, citing a shared vibe between the two. Reeves was deeply involved in the character's development, often offering multiple line readings and working closely with the team to understand their vision. His low-key, serious vocal performance greatly influenced the film's visual direction, according to animation supervisor Clem Yip. Post-production as a cost-saving measure, Paramount assembled an in-house animation team to work on both Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and the Knuckles series. Clem Yip served as animation supervisor, while Ul Levine was the film editor. The animation work was divided among 6 studios: Rising Sun Pictures, Rodeo FX, Industrial Light and Magic, Finn, Marza Animation Planet, and Paramount's in-house team. Fowler's team used a speedboat vendor strategy, distributing work across the studios while maintaining control over assets. This allowed for greater flexibility in polishing performances and maintaining visual continuity across both projects. Music Tom Hokenborg, who composed the score for the first 2 Sonic films, returned to score Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and completed his work by July 2024. In December 2023, Johnny Gioeli, the vocalist for Crush 40, revealed that there had been discussions about including the iconic Sonic Adventure 2 theme, Live and Learn. By February 2024, Gioeli confirmed that the song would indeed be featured in the film. Jelly Roll released a single, Run It, on November 21, 2024, and Japanese rock band One OK Rock contributed the track Neon, which had previously appeared in the 2022 game Sonic Frontiers. The film's soundtrack was released by Milan Records on December 20, 2024. Release Sonic the Hedgehog 3 premiered at the Empire Leicester Square in London on December 10, 2024, and at the TCL Chinese Theatre in Los Angeles on December 16. The film opened in the United States on December 20, 2024, taking over the original release date of the Smurfs movie, 2025. A fan event on December 19 offered early screenings in premium formats. The film was released in Australia on December 26 and in the United Kingdom on December 27. Marketing at CinemaCon in April 2024, Paramount showcased first-look footage, including a scene with Robotnik, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow. In July, Jakks Pacific leaked action figures and popcorn buckets related to the film. In August, a teaser on the film's TikTok account revealed Keanu Reeves's involvement as Shadow with the caption, "Foreshadowing." Promotional images of the characters were projected onto buildings worldwide ahead of the first trailer, which debuted on August 27th. Shadow's role, particularly his gritty portrayal by Reeves, was highlighted in the trailer, generating excitement. The trailer also sparked social media trends, including phrases like, "he has a gun" and "he pissed on the moon," referencing both Shadow's gun usage and a popular meme. On November 18th, a new poster was released, featuring the main team, Robotniks, and Shadow. In celebration of the film's release, merchandise included Jakks Pacific toys, Reebok shoes, McDonald's Happy Meal toys, and a novelty popcorn bucket from AMC. Paramount also released Christmas-themed posters and a stop-motion short, A Very Sonic Christmas, on December 11th, 2024. A tie-in video game, Shadow Generations, was released in October 2024, and downloadable content based on the film was launched in December. Reception. Box office Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was released alongside Mufasa, The Lion King, and was projected to gross $55 to $60 million from 3,800 theaters. The film earned $6.5 million from Thursday night previews, setting a new record for the Sonic franchise. Critical response on Rotten Tomatoes, 85% of 87 critics' reviews were positive, with an average rating of the 6th of July, 10. The consensus reads, with a double helping of Jim Carrey's antics and a Quicksilver pace befitting its hero, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is the best entry in this amiable series yet. Metacritic assigned the film a score of 59 out of 100, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an A grade. Variety praised Reeves's performance as Shadow, noting that his tones of deepest resonance made the character more empathetic, while also highlighting Carrey's roles as the Robotniks. Screen Rant called Reeves's portrayal of Shadow the standout of the film, and comicbook.com agreed, emphasizing his brooding and emotional depth. The AV Club praised Fowler's direction and the film's successful animation, while also highlighting the performances of both Reeves and Carrey. The Hollywood Reporter commended Reeves's gravitas as Shadow and Carrey's energetic dual roles but questioned the returning human characters. IGN also gave a positive review, praising the CGI and Carrey's performance, though it noted the film's simplicity. IndieWire gave the film a D, criticizing the humor and CGI. Polygon found Carrey's dual roles entertaining but contrasted them with the stoic somberness of Reeves's Shadow. Forbes noted the film's brisk pacing but described it as straightforward. The Guardian and the New York Times offered mixed reviews, with both acknowledging Carrey's comedic brilliance and Reeves's intense portrayal of Shadow. Future producer Toby Ascher confirmed plans for additional Sonic films in September 2024. Both Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves expressed interest in a spin-off focusing on their respective characters. A fourth Sonic film entered development in December 2024, with a planned release in early 2027. At its surface, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 may seem like another high-energy, action-packed adventure following the famous blue hedgehog and his allies as they face off against the looming threat of Dr. Robotnik and his new rival, Shadow. But beneath the fast-paced chases, the explosive action sequences, and the bright, colorful worlds, there lies a rich and nuanced exploration of deeper themes that resonate not only with the franchise's longtime fans but also with audiences looking for more meaningful reflections on today's societal issues. The film, much like its titular hero, may appear to be a light-hearted romp, but as the story unfolds, the audience is invited to see the film through a lens that explores identity, the struggle between good and evil, and the choices that define who we become. One of the primary themes that emerges early on in the film is the idea of identity and the search for self-understanding. This theme is particularly relevant to both Sonic and Shadow, the two central characters whose paths intersect in complex and emotionally charged ways. Sonic, ever the symbol of speed, freedom, and optimism, is faced with a challenge that forces him to reflect on who he truly is beyond his role as a hero. As the film progresses, Sonic's own sense of purpose and destiny is put to the test. He begins questioning whether he is the hero he believes himself to be or simply a result of circumstance, a force of nature shaped by his abilities rather than his choices. This internal conflict becomes a pivotal aspect of the narrative, as Sonic grapples with his desire to be free while also acknowledging the weight of responsibility that comes with his powers. Shadow, on the other hand, represents the darker side of the identity struggle. Created in a lab, Shadow's existence is born out of experimentation and manipulation rather than the natural course of life. He is a character deeply tied to themes of loss, vengeance, and the quest for meaning. From the moment Shadow is introduced, it is clear that his past has shaped him in profound ways. His relationship with Maria, a key figure from his backstory, symbolizes the fragility of connections in a world where individuals are often defined by forces beyond their control. Maria's death and Shadow's subsequent search for revenge serve as a driving force for his character. But as the story progresses, Shadow's internal journey becomes less about seeking vengeance and more about discovering his own path. His evolution from an antagonist to a more complex, sympathetic character highlights the film's deeper exploration of identity, how we are shaped by our experiences, yes, but also how we can choose to rise above them and forge our own path. This internal journey of self-discovery is not limited to the two titular characters. The secondary characters, such as Knuckles, Tails, and even Dr. Robotnik, also serve as crucial pieces in the puzzle of identity. Knuckles, whose early role in the series has often been defined by his brute strength and loyalty, finds himself questioning the value of his mission. His friendship with Sonic challenges him to reconsider his motivations, and by the film's end, Knuckles stands as a character who has learned the importance of balance between duty and personal conviction. Similarly, Tails, who is traditionally seen as the comic relief and sidekick, undergoes his own quiet journey of growth. As Sonic's most loyal companion, Tails' struggle is more subtle but no less important. Throughout the film, he finds the courage to step out from Sonic's shadow, learning to trust his own abilities and judgment rather than relying on Sonic's guidance. The tension between Sonic and Shadow speaks directly to another core theme of the movie, the duality of good and evil, and the gray areas that exist between the two. Shadow, as a character, represents this conflict more than anyone. He is not simply a bad guy in the traditional sense. He is a tragic figure whose actions, while often aggressive and vengeful, come from a place of deep pain and loss. The film asks whether it is possible for someone like Shadow, who has experienced such profound suffering, to redeem himself or whether he is forever trapped in the cycle of anger and retribution. His relationship with Sonic, which begins as one of fierce rivalry, evolves into something more nuanced as the two characters discover shared humanity beneath the surface. This duality is visually mirrored throughout the movie, especially in the way the characters are often framed against contrasting backgrounds of light and dark. In one of the film's most poignant moments, Sonic and Shadow stand side by side, both facing their own versions of conflict. Sonic's struggle to accept his role as a hero and Shadow's battle with his own past. It is a visual representation of the film's exploration of the gray areas in between good and evil, light and dark. The moral ambiguity present in the film is particularly striking in the portrayal of Dr. Robotnik, who is given a much deeper emotional arc this time around. While he retains his over-the-top, eccentric personality, his motives are more complex than they have been in previous films. Rather than simply being a villain bent on world domination, Robotnik is revealed to be someone deeply concerned with power and control, not out of a desire for domination, but out of a fear of being insignificant. This fear of irrelevance and obsolescence is something that many people can relate to in a world where the fast-paced nature of technological advancement often leaves individuals feeling left behind. Robotnik's obsession with Shadow, who represents a new breed of power, underscores his desperation to remain relevant. The film explores this fear of inadequacy and obsolescence, not just through Robotnik, but also through Sonic's evolving sense of purpose. The notion that the characters are fighting not just for survival or dominance, but for their own place in the world, resonates deeply in the context of a rapidly changing, often uncertain world. In addition to these themes of identity and morality, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 also offers a rich tapestry of symbolic elements that further deepen its narrative. The movie's use of visual and thematic symbols ties directly into the character arcs and emotional beats of the story. One of the most prominent symbols throughout the film is the Chaos Emeralds, which have long been associated with Sonic's ability to achieve near godlike power. In this installment, the Chaos Emeralds take on a more nuanced role, serving as both a source of power and a potential corrupting force. The Emeralds are linked to the theme of choice. Sonic and his allies must decide whether to use their immense power for the greater good or to succumb to the temptation of using them for personal gain. This idea of the Chaos Emeralds as a symbol of both power and peril parallels the characters' struggles with their own motivations. Sonic, who is initially driven by a desire to protect those he loves, must come to terms with the fact that the line between heroism and hubris is thinner than he ever imagined. The recurring motif of speed is also integral to the film's thematic underpinnings. Speed has always been a central part of Sonic's identity, but in this film, it takes on new significance. Sonic's superhuman velocity is no longer just a means to defeat enemies or escape danger. It becomes a symbol of his need for self-realization. Throughout the movie, Sonic's speed is contrasted with moments of stillness, where he must stop and reflect on his actions. These slower, more contemplative moments, often set against stark, minimalist backgrounds, act as a counterpoint to the frenetic energy of the action scenes. It is in these moments of pause that Sonic is forced to confront the choices he has made and the person he is becoming. In this way, the film uses the symbolism of speed to explore the internal conflict between action and reflection, between the impulse to move forward and the need to slow down and understand one's place in the world. The movie also touches on the theme of loyalty, particularly in the relationships between Sonic and his friends. Tails' unwavering support for Sonic, even in the face of overwhelming odds, speaks to the power of friendship and the importance of loyalty in a world that often seems chaotic and uncertain. However, the film also explores the limits of loyalty, especially when it comes to characters like Knuckles, who is forced to confront the reality that sometimes loyalty to a cause can blind one to personal growth or the need for change. The film's resolution, which sees Knuckles forging his own path alongside Sonic, underscores the idea that loyalty is not simply about following someone else's lead, but about understanding what is truly worth fighting for. The overarching social commentary in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 reflects a world that is ever-changing, where individuals must constantly navigate the complexities of identity, morality, and the pursuit of personal meaning. The film does not shy away from depicting characters in shades of gray, acknowledging that good and evil are often subjective, shaped by perspective and experience. It challenges the notion of heroes and villains, inviting the audience to question what it means to be truly good and whether redemption is possible for those who have lost their way. Through its symbolic imagery, complex character arcs, and themes of identity and choice, the film offers a thoughtful exploration of the human condition, disguised under the guise of an action-packed, high-speed adventure. In doing so, it proves that even the most fantastical of stories can offer profound insights into our own world. From the very first moments of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it becomes evident that the filmmakers have crafted an immersive visual experience that does more than simply tell a story. It paints an emotional, sensory landscape where every frame, every sound, and every cut is designed to enhance the film's narrative depth. The seamless integration of cinematic techniques, from sound design to music, camera work, and visual aesthetics, creates a world that feels both larger than life and deeply personal. This attention to detail elevates the movie beyond a mere action-adventure, making it an experience that lingers in the mind long after the credits roll. One of the film's most striking elements is its sound design, which acts as an invisible force that guides the emotional rhythm of the story. The score, crafted by Tom Hokenborg, known for his work on the previous Sonic films, continues to harness a blend of high-octane energy with subtle emotional undercurrents. The music pulses with the same intensity as Sonic himself, racing through sequences with infectious speed and urgency. However, what makes the sound design in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 so effective is not just its ability to accompany the action, but its ability to complement the emotional beats of the narrative. In moments of reflection, such as when Sonic contemplates the consequences of his powers, the music shifts to more introspective melodies that draw the audience closer into his internal conflict. The score doesn't just serve as background noise. It becomes an extension of the characters' journeys, acting as a guide for the viewer's emotional response. The sound design also excels in its ability to distinguish the various factions within the film. Robotnik's presence, for instance, is punctuated by mechanical, almost menacing sounds, as if every movement of his is governed by the cold precision of his machines. This auditory cue serves to reinforce the character's detachment from humanity, highlighting the distance between his obsession with control and the natural world that Sonic represents. The sound also plays a crucial role in the dynamic between Sonic and Shadow. Their encounters are often set to a clash of contrasting musical motifs, where Sonic's fast-paced, almost playful music contrasts sharply with Shadow's more somber, tragic undertones. This distinction is heightened by the sound design's use of silence in moments of tension. During their first face-to-face confrontation, for instance, the absence of music allows the weight of their words and actions to fully land, the silence thickening the atmosphere until the inevitable explosion of energy that accompanies their first battle. It's a reminder that sound doesn't just fill space, it creates it, heightening the sense of anticipation and impact. Alongside the soundscape, the movie's visual language is equally intentional, weaving its own layer of emotional storytelling into the film's tapestry. The vibrant colors and dynamic camera work establish a world that is both fantastical and tangible, where characters are not simply placed in the frame, but interact with the environment in ways that reflect their personalities. The use of color, in particular, serves as an emotional palette that guides the audience's perceptions. Sonic, with his electric blue fur and neon hues, is framed in a world that often glows with bright, saturated colors, from the neon-lit cityscapes to the lush greenery of the forests. These vivid visuals mirror Sonic's sense of freedom, energy, and optimism. The colors are bold and vibrant, never allowing the environment to fall into monotony. In contrast, Shadow's presence is often associated with a darker, muted color scheme. His world is one of grays and deep blues, where shadows loom over every corner. This color contrast isn't just a stylistic choice but a reflection of the character's inner worlds. While Sonic is bathed in the warmth of the world around him, Shadow's world is cold, detached, and shrouded in mystery. The interplay between light and dark also plays a significant role in the film's visual style. One of the most visually striking aspects of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is the careful use of lighting to reflect the character's emotional states. For Sonic, lighting is often bright and expansive, conveying a sense of openness and possibility. This is especially evident in the early sequences when Sonic is in his natural element, racing through wide-open fields or zipping across futuristic cityscapes. These scenes are characterized by sweeping camera movements and fluid shots that mirror Sonic's speed and sense of freedom. The cinematography captures the essence of his character, offering a visual experience that matches the quickness and exhilaration of his physicality. But as the movie progresses and Sonic's journey becomes more introspective, the lighting softens. Scenes of contemplation are often framed in softer, more diffused light, creating an intimate atmosphere where Sonic is forced to reckon with the consequences of his actions. This subtle shift in visual tone reflects the transformation Sonic undergoes as he grapples with his identity and place in the world. Shadow, on the other hand, is frequently enveloped in shadows, his figure emerging from darkness or bathed in cool, subdued lighting. In his moments of emotional conflict, particularly when he confronts his tragic past, the cinematography tightens, with the camera focusing on his isolated figure against dark backdrops. This visual treatment communicates Shadow's inner turmoil, his sense of being an outsider in a world he doesn't understand. The chiaroscuro-like interplay of light and shadow in these moments emphasizes his moral ambiguity and emotional complexity, making him a figure whose journey is not defined by absolute right or wrong, but by the struggle to reconcile his past with his desire for redemption. Camera work in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is another essential tool in bringing the film's visual language to life. The fluidity of the camera matches the speed and movement of the characters, with tracking shots that follow Sonic's every move, whether he's speeding across a cityscape or evading enemies in high-stakes action sequences. The camera seems to almost dance alongside him, keeping pace with his ever-moving form and accentuating the intensity of his high-speed adventures. But it's not all about speed. In quieter moments, particularly in the film's more reflective scenes, the camera slows down, lingering on a character's face or capturing the stillness of a moment in a way that allows the weight of their emotional state to settle in. This contrast between frenetic action and calm introspection is what gives the film its emotional depth. The visual style knows when to intensify the action and when to pull back, allowing the audience to absorb the emotional beats of the story. One particularly memorable sequence takes place during a pivotal battle between Sonic and Shadow, a fight that is both physically intense and emotionally charged. The choreography of the battle is complemented by a series of rapid cuts, quick zooms, and tilted angles that convey the chaos of the moment. The camera becomes a participant in the action, as if caught in the frenetic energy of the fight, mirroring the characters' struggle to assert their control. But in the moments leading up to this confrontation, the camera adopts a more methodical, focused approach, allowing the tension between Sonic and Shadow to build naturally. The shift in cinematographic approach, from tight, focused shots to sweeping, dynamic ones, emphasizes the transition from emotional build-up to full-blown confrontation, making the final battle feel not only earned but also deeply satisfying. In terms of visual innovation, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is unafraid to push boundaries, particularly when it comes to the portrayal of Sonic's superspeed. The filmmakers utilize groundbreaking visual effects to convey the sensation of velocity, with kinetic camera movements and clever uses of slow motion that allow the audience to experience the rush of wind, the blur of scenery, and the sheer power of Sonic's speed. These effects, however, are never used gratuitously. They serve the story, enhancing the emotional stakes of the film rather than detracting from them. The technology behind these sequences is used to make Sonic's powers feel immersive, almost tactile, drawing the viewer into his experience rather than simply showcasing visual spectacle. Equally impressive is the film's use of spatial orientation to convey a sense of scale. The camera often positions Sonic against towering skyscrapers, vast landscapes, or dramatic cityscapes, exaggerating the contrast between his small, yet powerful form and the enormous world around him. This heightens the sense of Sonic's agility and speed, making his journey not just about running, but about overcoming the immensity of the world itself. At times, the camera places him in extreme wide shots, underscoring his isolation and the vastness of his challenges. It is a reminder that Sonic's internal struggle is not just against external forces, but against a world that sometimes seems too large for one small hero to conquer. In the final act of the film, the visual language continues to evolve, mirroring the thematic and emotional shifts in the narrative. As Sonic and Shadow come to terms with their pasts and forge a tentative alliance, the lighting, camera work, and visual effects all reflect the merging of their worlds. The climactic sequence, where they join forces to defeat Dr. Robotnik, is both a visual spectacle and a moment of emotional catharsis, as the previously divided worlds of light and darkness come together in harmony. The camera pulls back in wide shots, showing the characters as part of a larger whole, signifying their growth and unity. In these moments, the visual style acts as a metaphor for the film's overarching message, that despite the differences that divide them, Sonic and Shadow, like all characters, can find common ground and purpose through mutual understanding and choice. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 showcases a masterful combination of sound design, music, cinematography, and visual effects that create a deeply immersive experience. The film's technical brilliance is never flashy for the sake of spectacle. Instead, it enhances the emotional and narrative journey of the characters, bringing their internal struggles and triumphs to life in a way that is both visually stunning and emotionally resonant. From the very first frame of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it's clear that this isn't just a sequel looking to cash in on the franchise's established fan base. It's a carefully crafted cinematic experience that pushes the boundaries of storytelling through its use of sound, visuals, and innovative filmmaking techniques. The way the film's sound design, music, and visual style converge to tell its story offers a deeper immersion into the world of Sonic, creating an emotional resonance that lingers long after the credits roll. Every element, from the pulsing beats of the soundtrack to the dynamic choreography of the camera, has been meticulously designed to serve the film's larger narrative, making each action sequence, emotional beat, and character interaction more engaging and meaningful. From the Sonic franchise, from nods to classic moments in the games to the introduction of new characters and locations, feels both respectful and innovative. For example, the presence of iconic locations like Green Hill Zone and the Master Emerald feels like a tribute to the fans who have followed Sonic for decades. Yet these familiar locations are presented in ways that feel fresh, with each new setting offering an opportunity for the film to visually and thematically explore new facets of the Sonic universe. The movie isn't just an extension of the games. It's a reinterpretation, one that breathes new life into the material while still respecting its roots. And then there's the film's heart. More than just a high-speed adventure, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a story about family. It's about the relationships that define us, the choices we make that shape our destinies, and the people, or hedgehogs, we choose to fight for. Sonic's journey is about realizing that being a hero doesn't mean doing everything alone. It's about building connections, trusting others, and understanding that even the most unlikely of alliances can lead to unexpected strength. These messages are embedded in the film's core, made all the more poignant through the incredible performances of the cast. Ben Schwartz's Sonic is more than just a wisecracking speedster. He's a young hero learning that there is more to being great than just running fast. Idris Elba's Knuckles, once a lone warrior, learns that teamwork is more powerful than solitary strength. Keanu Reeves's Shadow evolves from a vengeful outcast to a character seeking redemption, and through his connection with Sonic, he finds the possibility of peace. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a perfect blend of spectacle, emotion, and character growth. It's a movie that appeals to fans of the franchise for its action-packed sequences and visual splendor, but also resonates on a deeper level through its exploration of relationships and personal growth. It elevates the franchise beyond the confines of its origins as a video game, showing that there's more to the Sonic universe than just speed and Chaos Emeralds. In the end, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 stands out because it understands that the heart of any great story lies in its characters, and it never loses sight of the fact that what makes Sonic truly great isn't his ability to run faster than anyone else. It's his ability to grow, to learn, and to connect with others. This film solidifies the Sonic the Hedgehog cinematic series as not only a thrilling ride but a heartfelt, meaningful journey. With its balance of humor, heart, and action, it is a movie that will stay with audiences long after the credits roll. And for fans of the franchise, it's a reminder that there's always room to grow, even when you're moving at the speed of sound.